These will be my top DPS classes for Mr. Pandaria. Now, let me preface this by saying that this is my personal opinion. I am not basing this straight on damage because utility is a big thing. My consideration is how useful and important are you to a raid. And even if your damage isn't great, if that is the case, that is absolutely a good spec. There will be a little bias in here. The main bias is I never ever play rogue, so if you do not see a rogue spec in here, that's why. Not my cup of tea, sorry. Number 10 is gonna be the Frost Mage. Now, it is very weird that I ever feature the Frost Mage. It is traditionally a crappy spec in all of the modern expansions, but in Pandaria they are actually really good. Now, they lack burst damage. Their burst damage is notoriously trash, but their consistent damage, their sustained damage is really good. They are very mobile. Ice Lens is extremely convenient. The Frost Elemental is actually pretty cool. It's very similar to the Fire Elemental of the Shaman in the fact that it is a significant part of your damage now. So they do have cooldowns for a burst phase in a boss, which is something that happens quite often in Pandaria. There is some short DPS checks in a lot of fights, and the Frost Mage is pretty competent at handling that. And they are very safe, they are very survivable. So if you don't want to be the guy that dies and everybody gets mad at you, if you just want to coast there, be on the middle of the DPS meter, hiding there and people not noticing you, the Frost Mage is actually really good at being that guy. If you want a low pressure class, the Frost Mage is one of those. Number 9 is going to be the Beast Mastery Hunter. Now, I never made it a secret. I got a big soft spot for Beast Mastery. It is never quite the best spec for Hunter ever, but it is so freaking cool. And in Pandaria they get a lot of cooler tools even. Their damage is actually pretty damn good, probably top 5, but they do not get a lot of chatter about them because the Survival Hunter completely overshadows them, and that's a shame because Beast Mastery is extremely competent and they got a lot of really cool tools now. Beast Mastery was pretty much an incomplete spec until Mop. Mop is when the Beast Mastery Hunter actually starts looking like a real spec. But you know exactly why I like the Beast Mastery Hunter. If you know anything about Mop, you're gonna not be surprised at why I like it. And that is Stampede. Stampede is a cooldown common to every Hunter spec, yes, but your Mastery gives you pet damage. So you are the spec that gets the most value from Stampede, and when you pop every cooldown, you are gonna beat a Survival Hunter. You are not gonna beat a Survival Hunter overall, but when you pop your cooldowns where you're trying to meet a DPS check when it really matters, you will. I think the number one thing that separates the Hunter from any other class like a Warlock, because that comparison gets made a lot, the Hunter has a friend in their pets. The Hunter is good to their pets. And the Stampede cooldown is so thematically cool. Yes, I just want to pop Stampede. That's literally it. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of good things to be happy about with the Beast Mastery Hunter. For example, you can move while doing Cobra Shot now, so you are very mobile. You do not have a lot of defensive cooldowns pretty much at all. You are bare bones in that scenario still until Warlords. That's not gonna change. So you are kind of annoying to heal, and that's something that's gonna keep happening. Your rotation is a lot more complex in Beast Mastery than in Survival for the most part, because you got two different talent rows right here. Dire Beast, which is yet another pet. And this is actually really cool because all your build as Beast Mastery is about buffing your pets. So any summon does a lot of damage, but that's something you gotta be popping on cooldown. And you're gonna have also Gleiptos, which is pretty good, but it's another Bodon, right? It is not often talked about, but Beast Mastery is actually a powerhouse in AoE. Not only that, they have good burst AoE damage. And if you know anything about fights in WoW, you know, a lot of ad phases, they are just tiny ads that die really fast. And if you can have burst AoE damage, just the fact that it is quick is gonna give you a lot more damage than a sustained AoE damage, which is, going back to the Frost Mage, that's the main weakness of the Frost Mage in AoE, for example. Beast Mastery is nothing like that. Beast Mastery just blows you up quick. I promise I'm gonna get into a Beast Mastery guide very soon. I'm gonna stop glazing the Beast Mastery Hunter. I just love the Beast Mastery Hunter. Any pet cooldown is gonna give you a lot of damage because your Mastery scaling just gives you pet damage. So pets will be a huge part of your damage like the traditional Beast Mastery Hunter, but unlike the previous iterations, you are actively using the pets. You are actively using the animals. It's not a passive thing like your cat is just auto-attacking the boss and you do nothing about it. Beast Mastery is excellent. Do not listen to the survival shields. Of course, survival is objectively more damage, but Beast Mastery is perfectly excellent. And Beast Mastery will stay number 9. Number 7 is gonna be the two-handed Frost Death Knight spec. Yes, there is a two-handed spec in Pandaria for Frost, and yes, it does a lot of damage. Does it do as much damage as Unholy? No. No, it does not. But it is only 6 buttons. You have better defensive cooldowns, you are much easier to pilot, you still bring the battle res, you still bring the utility. Your DPS cooldowns are actually better. Once again, going back to what I keep saying, every phase, every fight where there's a particular mechanic that needs you to burn through a phase quickly, the Frost Decay is actually superior to the Unholy Decay. And usually, that's when the damage really counts. The problem, just like the Frost Mage, ironic, their AoE is slow. It is slow to set up. You gotta do like 3 buttons until you get like decent AoE damage output, and that can suck. But their AoE is absolutely competent once you get everything down. Hope the mobs do not move out of the Blood and Decay or you're gonna be very sad. But the Frost Death Knight is excellent, and if you're a new player, if you don't wanna play something too complicated like yours truly, you can sacrifice 5% of your damage to get a significantly easier class. And when push comes to shove, if you're gonna play a class imperfectly, that is a lot more than 5% damage. So yes, difficulty is a huge factor in my opinion that puts down a lot of classes. And that's actually a good segue to the next class. Number 7 is gonna be the Feral Druid. Yes, the Feral Druid. It is kind of annoying to play. I will never recommend somebody play a Feral Druid in a high latency condition like me. If you're playing on more than 100 ping, probably not the choice for you, but the Feral Druid is always in high demand, it is always useful, they do good damage, with proper setup they have stupid burst damage. It's gonna be one of those where if you one-trick pony the Feral Druid, if you are an expert in the Feral Druid and you get a lot of practice in it, it will pay off and you're gonna get a lot of damage. It is not always easy to fit a Druid in a composition, it is not always easy to find a Druid, and you need one Druid every raid. So Feral Druids are actually really decent. Feral Druids are something you should definitely consider. Are they the best damage? No. But people are happy to have you. Number 6 is going to be the Affliction Warlock. But you might say, Medina, the Affliction Warlock is literally one of the highest DPS classes in the game. Yes, but it is very situational. It is not actually, it doesn't tell the whole story. Let's say that. They do not have burst damage at all. That is not what the Affliction Warlock is about. They are all about putting 20 dots on the target and waiting. And eventually that ramps up to good damage, but it is not quick, and fights need you to be quick. You are not nearly as mobile as other classes, and that will have an effect on your uptime, and low uptime is low damage. You have to manage your demons, and your demons do not like moving either, believe it or not. That's also a whole nother mechanic on its own. The rotation did get simplified. That is one thing you can be happy about. The rotation did get a lot simpler. We're talking like 5-6 buttons, but it is still very difficult to pilot mechanics with. Your only lifeline for moving is Demonic Teleport, and honestly, compared to literally any other movement cooldown, it is really bad. Yes, in the hands of an expert, in the hands of a very good player, Affliction is deadly. Affliction is scary, and Affliction is very much a spec that can have perfect uptime. That is probably not gonna be you. I played Affliction for 3 years, and I assure you I could not do it. I can't. And don't get me, I love the Warlock, but I hate having to move as a Warlock. To this day, it is always annoying. The main thing that brings you down though is the lack of burst, because that means that as an Affliction Warlock, you have to pre-plan the fight exactly how it's gonna go. So in progression, not because the class is bad, but because you don't know exactly where the ads are gonna be, exactly when the boss is gonna move, exactly when each phase is gonna change, and you have to do something different. Because you do not know that yet, progression as a Warlock, as an Affliction Warlock, is very hard. You have to learn twice as much as everybody else for every fight. Then again, it is excellent. It does a lot of damage. There is a lot to love about the Affliction Warlock. I just do not recommend it to a new player. Now, I know I have to talk about the Monk. It is Pandaria, and that's gonna be number 5, and it is very intentional at number 5, because the Monk is a mid-tier class. The Windwalker Monk is good at one thing and one thing only: DPSing down 3 targets. Now, in Pandaria, like in Cataclysm, that's something that happens a lot. There is a lot of fights where you get 3 targets. I don't know why they like 3 targets, but that's something that happens a lot. Even 2 or 4 targets, the Windwalker Monk is very good. That's what we call cleaving. I always make a distinction that fighting 4 targets or less is cleaving and more than 4 targets is AoE, because that usually requires you to do a different rotation, and that usually benefits different classes, and the Windwalker Monk is the best example of that. Their single target damage and their true AoE damage is mediocre at best, but their cleaving is really good, and in the fights where you do need cleaving, the Windwalker Monk is the best spec for that fight. That's why I am bumping them up a little more than I otherwise should. I am sure there is gonna be a ton of monks in Pandaria, no matter what I say. Don't get me wrong, it's a good class, it's good, it's useless, they got utility, they are useful, but if you really wanna play a monk, they have 2 other excellent classes. I feel that the Windwalker Monk is kinda out there. It's definitely a 5 out of 10. Number 4 is going to be the Elemental Shaman. It is the best DPS for Shaman. It is stupid, brain dead, easy. It is one of the best cleavers and AoEers in the game. They have good burst damage with the proper setup. Gotta manage those charges, but yes, they do. They bring all the good utility like Windwalk Totem from the Shaman that we all love. They are deceptively resilient because of their talents. Right here, Primal Elementalist. You take 30% less damage when you got Earth Elemental down. There is a macro for it, you gotta press it twice, whatever. You got Astral Shift, 40% less damage taken. And don't forget, you also bring Ancestral Guidance. Your damage will turn into healing for the entire raid, and that makes you even more valuable. Through no cost to your damage, you are bringing a lot of healing into the raid as a cooldown when you really need it. While the rest of Shaman struggles with 10 mans or small raids, the Elemental Shaman is even more valuable. What we call about the Elemental Shaman, it is slot efficient. That's what it really is. The Elemental Shaman can cover a lot of important utility check marks, and it only takes 1 slot. It is very similar to the Hunter in that way. Your AoE rotation is literally 2 bodons, your DPS rotation is 4 bodons. Oh boy, 4 bodons. If you get the right Wikoras, the game will play it for yourself pretty much. It's gonna tell you exactly what to do. The logic is so simple, you can automate it on a Wikora and it will tell you what to press every single time. I am gonna make that Wikora eventually. I just haven't come around to it yet. I will, because I'm gonna play Elemental. But the same way I recommend Frost Decay to beginner melees, the Elemental Shaman is number 1, the best choice for a beginner player that's gonna play a caster. It is the ultimate noob tube, the ultimate starter class. Number 3 is gonna be the Arms Warrior. The Arms Warrior is absolutely dominant in Pandaria, just like it was in Cataclysm. A little less so. Yes, we lost a little bit of our power, but they are still excellent. They got good burst, they got good AoE, they got good cleave. They are actually one of the best AoE. No, they are actually the best AoE melee in the game, pretty much. Period. Blade Storm is stupid. Blade Storm is absolutely stupid. And Sweeping Strikes, of course, and Slam. It is really good. It is a good cleaver, a good single target, a good AoE, all round and excellent. They got amazing utility. They bring a lot to the table to a raid. They got an AoE slow, they got an AoE stun, they got an AoE interrupt. 10-man players, don't forget this one, AoE interrupt. They got a 30% reduced damage taken to the tank. That's another good cooldown for the raid. And of course, they got Rallying Cry. Easily top 3 the best cooldowns in the game for protecting your raid. 20% extra maximum HP for your raid. You are gonna survive mechanics that you shouldn't survive with this thing. As a matter of fact, a lot of the mechanics in MoP are tuned around having a warrior doing Rallying Cry. So yeah, you need 1 warrior of any kind for Rallying Cry. Pretty much it is not a choice. And you might as well take the freaking Arms Warrior because they slap. It is also pretty easy. I made a guide on the Arms Warrior already. If you're watching this video when it comes out, I will eventually make a guide on every spec I know. But it is easy. It is not hard to play at all. And there is not a lot of high-level decision making you need to do as an Arms Warrior. Unlike, for example, the Affliction Warlock or something like that. No matter if you're experienced, if you're new, if you care about pumping or you care about being like useful, the Arms Warrior has everything for everyone. It's like your big brother when you were playing superheroes and he kept making up superpowers. That's the guy. The Arms Warrior is for those people. Number 2 is gonna be the Destruction Warlock. Why is the Destruction Warlock above Affliction? Because I think on the overwhelming majority of players, I am not counting about the 1% here, I am talking about decent, competent players that aren't insane at the game. I think in those people's hands, the Destruction Warlock is gonna outperform Affliction every single time. It has burst, which means you need to plan a lot less for mechanics where you need to move. It is more mobile, it is more comfortable to move on Destruction. They bring the exact same utility, their AoE is better. As Affliction, you are kinda forced to go for Fell Hunter if you want the optimal DPS. Pet Twisting is not a thing in MoP anymore. But as a Destruction, you don't really care. It's like, what, 15% of your damage? Like, will you notice if you lose 10% of your pet damage? No, you won't. So, in a way, Destruction is more utility. I don't know, I just like Destruction better. It is much easier to pilot, even if you got a little more buttons on the rotation, it is much easier to play every fight right. And that's what really matters. And number 1, I know everybody's gonna hate me if I don't put it here because it is so far ahead from everything else. That's right, that's gonna be the Survival Hunter. The Survival Hunter does so stupid damage. There are some people in MoP right now playing with double Survival Hunter in arenas, just trying to one-shot the healer. We might make a video on that soon, okay? We did an arena with Jerome and we got matched against Saryu the first game. It wasn't fun, let me tell you that much. They just do everything better. They got the best AoE, they got the best single target. If I were to make a tier list, I would have to make a separate tier just for the Survival Hunter, like S plus max HD. Your rotation in single target is moderately decent, it is like 6 buttons. Your AoE rotation is 3 buttons, and you most of the time just spam explosive shot anyway, which is fun. It's fun, but yeah, it's very simple too. I would say the Survival Hunter is harder to play than Beast Mastery for a lot of the time, especially single target, but the reward is there. Now, let's be honest, the only reason I put it in top 1 is because it does so stupid damage, it is so stupidly overtuned that it is good on damage alone. That's pretty much it. I mean, do you need a better explanation than that? It is the best DPSer in the game. Of course it's gonna be top 1. I consider utility and difficulty before, but for this one, that's not the case. It is just damage, and sometimes just damage is just what you need. But what do you think? I am sure people are gonna disagree with my personal top 10. I could have easily gone to like Tauri, Logs or whatever and go get that chart of the DPS for each class. I might do that on a different video actually, but not a top 10. And talk about the individual damage, but I just do not like that. I think the individual damage never tells the whole story, especially the longer we go into retail and the more mechanics there is. Damage becomes less and less important over time. Damage is not the only thing. I would dare say it is not even the main thing that makes something like the Arms Warrior or the Elemental Shaman good. They bring a lot to the table. And yes, there are DPS checks, but for the most part, what's gonna kill you is doing mechanics wrong. So if you can have a decent DPSer that has excellent help for the raid in dealing with a mechanic, in my opinion that is much more valuable. You can then stack like 2 pumpers like a Survival Hunter or something like that on top of that, but I would stack a lot of useful classes first and then I would go for a pumper. This is not like vanilla or TBC where you can just overrun the boss with damage and damage will make mechanics pointless. In Pandaria you do not get to ignore mechanics, you do not get to brute force mechanics. So I hope that makes it clear why I value utility a lot more than damage right now. Even though damage is still important, it is not the factor anymore. And I think, honestly, that's good. I like that. Before I go, we got a merch store now. Check it out, bro. It's a catfish, but in shirt form. We're gonna put more stuff in it as time goes on. I gotta make a hoodie and a desk mat or something like that. I gotta design all of that. But yes, it is out there. It's gonna be in the description if you wanna check it out. Support the channel and get a catfish in your chest. Everybody wants a catfish in their chest. And subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.